by work, I was a planner, a transportation planner for King County Metro, and I also was the legislative assistant for Dolores Sabanga, who was the first Filipino lawyer in the state of Washington. I'm also a playwright and a poet, so I do nonsensical things for fun. So I'm going to begin with a poem, because I'm sometimes poet and mostly a playwright, I think. 16th Avenue. Seattle's 16th Avenue teems with dream-drawn neighbors from immigrant lands. We gather in shared schools, Immaculate, Maryknoll, O'Day, and Garfield. Spring and summers crowd with capture the flag, touch football, or shooting the pill until the hoop disappears with dusk. We twist, stomp, slow dance to 45s in the still of the night. We drive and make out in Seward Park. We ride the 27 Yesser for a swim in Lake Washington until the Matsudairas buy a black 57 Ford and Joe and Ed drive us. Cool. Years later, I score a 56 two-door Bel Air Chevy, copper with glass packs, silver moons and rims. I was cool too. Yeah. My father and mother, Vincent and Louise Flor, met while working at Providence Hospital and married and raised their children and many foster children. They rented their first apartment on 11th and James before purchasing the family home on 16th Avenue, mid-block between Jefferson and Cherry. The neighborhood was, as you heard, Filipino, Japanese, Chinese, blacks, Native Americans, whites, just a composition of everybody. Filipino and Japanese Catholics initially attended Maryknoll, or Lady Queen of Martyrs, on 17th and Jefferson. This was a unique parish founded, the building was built in 1919, but opened in 1920. And it had a kindergarten run by Maryknoll nuns, which in the staff blossomed. First, it was staffed by parish priests and then Maryknoll missioners. Mainly because the Catholic Church wasn't sure what to do with Asians, so they thought, well, Maryknoll missionaries knew what they were doing, probably. This district, as you heard, was redlined, and it was an area where Filipinos and other minorities could live. But ironically, it provided access to numerous services and jobs, being just off the downtown. It was a stone's throw away from Immaculate, and it had a small church, classrooms, basketball court, a hall with a stage. And my uncle Baltazar formed the Filipino Catholic Drama Club in the 1930s, and the community held small dinners there, gatherings, and participated in this play. If you ever see the billings from the plays, they have all these people you knew from the community, their foundations. So what I'm going to try and give you is a little snapshot of 16th Avenue and life there. As I said, my parents married and they moved into the top floor of a 3-story apartment on 11th and James. And the area is currently where Seattle U's parking lot is, and Campion Towers. And that whole area used to be apartments and houses, that sort of thing. And so that filled with a number of Filipino families. The Diungans, the Umals, Mendozas, Ordonez, all lived there, and there were many, many, many more. And Filipinos also had this dream that started in the mid-20s, and they formed what they called the Clubhouse Movement. And they began fundraising and incorporated in 1933, and they raised money and saved money in an account and bought a barren strip that ran the full block from James, 11th and James, to 11th and Cherry. That they later sold to Seattle U for $6,000 and became part of the down payment for the current community center, which is at one time a bowling alley. And so they bought that for $80,000. So they saw a bit of a future. Mrs. Braganza, my mother's comadre, visited often with Eladio, her son in tow. We were roughly the same age. They'd roll us in strollers to Chinatown to buy vegetables from Steve Nava, who operated the Washington Produce and Farmers Market on Jackson, mid-block between Rainier and 12th. They eventually, they'd also take the bus. They'd take us down. Buses were real prevalent in the Central District. And so you could take like the 12s and you could go down to Pike Market downtown. You could see movies, theaters. So it really opened avenues for us to actually be living there. On our block, there were the Beltrans, the Cassies, Delmas, Ligos, Gyrons, Navarros, Farrells, Matsudairas, Takahashis, Yasuis, Harold, the former mayor, James Pipkins, Dongs, and Ings, and many, many more. These are families all out of this clustered area. And there were a lot more. There were Villefleurs and so on. And they all shopped and walked the same streets, went to the same stores. We were a community. The Filipino kids, we attended Maryknoll Church and later grade school at T.T. Minor, or Immaculate Conception. I transferred from T.T. Minor to Immaculate, and the girls would continue on, usually at Immaculate, while the boys would leave for O'Day, Garfield, or Franklin. The location of the Filipino community offered easy access by bus, as I said, to jobs, movie theaters, and so on downtown, and to shopping like at Bon Marché, Nordstrom's, Woolworths, Crest. All of those stores were within a block or so of where the buses would stop on the downtown. By fourth grade, most of us had bicycles, and we could easily reach Seattle Art Museum and the Arboretum or bike around Lake Washington. I had 2 paper routes. And so the Central District, while it was redlined, and from the outside you often heard, it's a tough area, you don't want to live there and that kind of stuff, but it also offered opportunities and adventure. Maryknoll, for example, sponsored a Boy Scout troop, Troop 7, and Ed Beltran and I joined along with the Matsudaira boys, and we had to learn survival skills, tying knots, fishing, first aid, all that kind of stuff. And Tom Kobayashi, who actually passed away just a few years ago, lived to be 100 years old. He was our scoutmaster, and he lived up in Mount St. Vincent's in his last final days. And I went up there hoping to see him, but there was a closed room and stuff. And our assistant scoutmaster was James Pipkin, whose son was a jazz artist, but he would take us and teach us how to cook. Like we went to Denny Creek one time camping, and we were supposed to make stew, and I cooked and cut up the potatoes and all of this stuff. And he came by and said, awfully chewy, you need another hour, and I was dying of hunger. Anyway, so when Maryknoll closed in 1956, and all the attention shifted to Immaculate Conception, where we went for grade school. And so Maryknoll Church was empty. It was just an empty box. But then it came, the church opened it for community services. So the Black Panther food program opened there. Bob Santos ran the Caritas tutoring program. And eventually DPA and FYA had offices there as well. So that's what happened in the central area during that time to a degree. And for a lot of the other community events, they were held at Washington Hall. We'd all come down there, and Santos lived, his aunt Adriaticos lived real close by, and then they bought a house on 15th, between 14th and 15th on Columbia. It's still there. And we would have events like Easter and that kind of thing. We'd go down there, and little kids, and the men would line the room, and then you'd go by, and they'd say, for your education, and give you $1 or something like that. So they were always interested in kids going to school. It was a big deal for them. My mom loved the camaraderie of the Filipino Women's Club, which was, she was accepted into it. And she loved Benign Flores, Aurora Turla, Priscilla Castro. Anyway, it was really great. Yeah, it was fun living there. So their journeys were from distant Philippines for the most part, but they also journeyed against social convention and discrimination. So that's it. They were sisters under the skin. Yeah.